Hello and welcome to Promenade Culture Center. This is Culture Corner. We bring you the authentic stories of creative individuals. Our guest today is Dr. Jawaher Al Bader, artist and educator. Doctora, good morning.
Good morning.
And very warm welcome to Culture Corner.
Thank you. It's a pleasure being here.
We're so glad to have you here and to discuss the large body of work that you have done and all the artistic, cultural, communal programs and projects that you're handling. But before we dive into the actual activities of today, we wanted to ask you something that's a frequent question to our guests. And that is, how did this road of an artist happen to you? Were you always drawn to art? And how was the supportive element of family and education as you were growing up?
Okay. So art for me was always like an internal journey. And I think art was how I got to know myself. And my mother's diaries about me as a baby was always being attracted to like magazines. I would always look at magazines, look at visual elements. I was always inspired visually. For me, art was my kind of second life. So whenever I had things that bothered me or things I could not control, I walk like I do today. I walk with a little sketchbook that I would sketch and I would write. So art for me was a love affair that began at a very, very early age. So I cannot separate myself from the art part.
That is amazing. So artistic endeavors were always present in your life.
Yeah, and I never really labeled it as art. It was more being. It was more like just the only safety or the only kind of grace I gave myself. And
inseparable part of you. Were you determined on that path that this is what you will be pursuing? We realized that over the years, we are frequently encouraged, but both discouraged by what the system teaches us and how the formal education is maintained. So was this path something that you stayed on firmly? Because we are going to reach the moment when we will talk about you studying architecture. So I'm interested in how this path was crafted.
As a family, we're very tolerant. My father was always in the kitchen. My mother was the one who would socialize and make deals. So we had a little bit of a different kind of family system. My brother is a chef. I have two other brothers. One is a banker. The other one does freelance, also business. For us in the home, there was more of a freedom. We had no structure. It wasn't a very typical life. And my mother and father were glued together a lot of the times. So it was always like, it's okay to do what you want. So art was encouraged because I went to art classes. I thrived in the art classroom. I mean, I hated all the rote classes. So when I went to the art school, I formed very strong relationships with my art teachers. And when I was 15, 16, I went to Tamam Shammout, the wife of a Palestinian artist. She's an artist herself, in her home. And I would learn watercolor and oil paint. And I researched on my own with little booklets. At that time, there was no YouTube. So I would, every time I go to the bookstore, I would buy books on how to draw. So it was always there, and it was more it's a need more than a mental choice that I made.
When you finished your education in Kuwait, you have moved abroad immediately for university, or?
So during the invasion, this is when we had to, it was the 11th grade, was in Switzerland. And I joined a school that had the IGCSE. And the IGCSE is a 2-year program. So for us coming from Kuwait, only doing 1 year, I did it in 1 year. And I took art. And I saw how much I had in me. And most of the students that were there have been preparing a year ahead of me, all the work. And I remember doing really well and getting a full grade on it, and it empowered me.
Yes.
So I think I had that, and I felt that it was like a natural, not gift, but a natural language that I had. So automatically, when I was looking at colleges, I remember seeing a catalog of a university in the States. My brother was going there. And I remember seeing architecture. So I was like, okay, I couldn't imagine going to school for art. It was like unheard of, or you would not be given a scholarship to go to art. So I said, yes, I am very good in math and I'm very good in art. So I was like, okay, architecture. So it wasn't necessarily a love for to become an architect. I never had that desire, but I went to architecture. I applied to architecture,
and that comes with a specific discipline and set of skills. I'm curious about these.
Oh.
Entering something, we have large dreams at that
Yes,
age and expectations. It comes with a lot of independence and freedom, but also with a lot of restrictions in a way, or at least let's call it discipline. What is the best you took from that type of school while you were actually realizing who you were becoming?
You mean in my undergrad?
Yes.
So when I applied and got into Rhode Island School of Design, I had no clue what Rhode Island School of Design is. I just applied there because it was close to Boston. And I had a lot of family in Boston, which is typical at that time. So I went to RISD. And I was amazed. It felt like I was in a candy store. I felt like a child in a candy shop. There was no tests. All we did was stay from 9 until 5, drawing from the model or doing sculptures. So with RISD, you have a whole year that you do just art, fine arts, before you get into architecture. I did that in a very intensive summer course before entering, because I transferred to RISD. So when I entered into the architecture, of course, I was hindered because you had to do a lot of straight lines. You had to have a discipline. But what was wonderful is that RISD is open as an art school. So I did a lot of large pieces of experiential moments in the architecture that I designed. So for me, it was always about the experience. And just having this structure of working with your hands, with your mind, and being in a studio with other people, sharing ideas, presenting your work to the group, critiquing. It was a lot of critical thinking that was embedded in the education. It wasn't that you were given a booklet that told you what you needed to learn. No, it's like you learned it through the daily rituals of the requirements of the project or the requirements of the class itself. So to me, that was the best kind of education. And consequently, my doctorate work is in a studio-based education. And I really believe that education should be transformed into project-based learning. It should not be just, you need to learn addition, subtraction. No, it's like embedding it into the classroom, where the child learns to count or learns to add because it's for a bigger purpose, like a project or a business idea or whatever.
Now that you have mentioned that, I did want to talk about that type of learning, and we can immediately actually dive into it. In your experience, these differences between formal and informal learning, or the types of learning, I feel as a parent that the current education is not cutting it anymore, that it's simply outdated, that comes with a lot of unnecessary pressure. And it's not even about how much knowledge is acquired. It's some sort of a result oriented without actual learning, I feel. And we react differently to the knowledge that we are given and that we are acquiring. But in your experience as an educator, in your educational experience, could you share more on how you see learning, especially through the things you are doing in your life professionally?
The educational model that we have now was created so that the maximum number of people get information with the minimum amount of time and effort. So today, this does not work. The reason I really withdrew, or let's say had an early, I stopped teaching in the literal sense, because most of the students didn't want to be in the classroom, especially after COVID. They wanted to see things on their time on YouTube. Literally, like in my syllabus, it was every skill had to have a YouTube link for the students to look at them at home. No one had the patience to just sit and to watch me do the work or demonstrate, which is a big part of learning.
Yeah.
You had to see it demonstrated. You have to do it yourself. So this is the time where education needs to start shifting. And very brave people have to make these shifts, or brave countries maybe. So education needs to change. Definitely, there needs to be a paradigm shift right now.
I'm curious of you moving from your usual settings as a young person and going to study abroad. Obviously, you've already lived abroad, you've had that experience, but it's very different when we move away on our own and start something very new and possibly frightening at the moment. What happens to our identity? And what is identity? Frequently we speak about it here, and we usually put aside nation and religion and other possible identities, and we talk about the cultural identity. Who are we when we move away, settle in a different surrounding, and try to create something that comes from within our soul, such as art? How did you feel when you moved away, and how did you see a shift in yourself and in what you're becoming?
It felt so alive and real and comforting. It's like leaving your family that you grew up with, and then suddenly meeting people of different races, colors, ideologies, but then feeling comfort. I had 3 friends my first year. Tatiana, Sanchita Bista, and then I had Heidi from Germany, and Juyang Shin from Korea. So it's like I was surrounded by kindred spirits and sisters. Honestly, I did not feel that I was in a foreign place at all.
And it's really amazing finding friendships at that age.
Yeah. And it felt like it's okay, you know, I'm fine, I'm safe. So as long as I had the people that I connected with, I was anchored. And the also the discipline of doing art was an amazing solace because it engaged my whole spirit, my mind, my body into creating and making. So I was really in heaven. I don't think it's very rare that I felt homesick when I was at RISD specifically. It was always like something to chew on.
You've already mentioned that this school has influenced you greatly, and how amazing you felt once you landed there. You've also been later in life, most recently recognized and awarded by the school. I would love to hear about that.
Well, I feel very honored because it kind of brought it all out again. When I went to receive the award, I was in my space. 30 years later, I was in my space that I was in 30 years, and it just felt like home again. Being in the studios, the studio where I met my husband, it's just it's like the people that we have befriended and formed connections with, our lifelong friends, because you are there literally almost maybe 15 hours a day. You are in studio. There were people who never went home just to take a shower and change. So the studio has become your haven. It became the place where you can be yourself. You can create the work that is you, authentically you. So this, to me, I made this for myself in Kuwait. The first thing we did was me and my husband was design the studio in our home. So our home is on top of the school. So and my children all thrive in the studio and by expressing themselves. So art is a big part of our life, and it unified me with everyone, strangers or friends. Yeah.
We've discussed already your role as an educator, but I would love to speak a little bit more about challenges and opportunities of teaching. For instance, your time at Kuwait University at the Visual Communications Department.
Yes.
Because we already spoke about what are the formats of education that we need to thrive. What were some other big challenges that you saw at the university and that kind of influenced how you work as an educator as well?
I think expectation, like my education at RISD was never about the product. This is my biggest shock. When I first came, all the teachers, all the professors expected finished work at the end. And for us at Rhode Island School of Design, it was always showing your first sketch and the process that you went through to reach it. And I feel like this is incredibly important now in the AI age to show your process. Even if you use ChatGPT, it's important to show what happened and how you used technology to support you. So my biggest challenge is that the students would present their work, and it was always just kind of products that would impress more than products that expressed and showed the inner workings of the creator or the student. So that's a big thing. The positive parts of teaching in Kuwait University was having students from all over. We had people from nutrition, people from engineering, sciences, and it's fantastic to be able to open them up creatively through the arts, and having the arts support their disciplines as well, and become like a way to open them up in anything they do. So this is why it's so important to have the arts. Like for me, on a daily basis, I have to connect to myself through watercolor paintings. And it's interesting, just like the layering of the paint, the opportunities that I see in my abstract work. So my work is more abstract. It started out as realism and learning from real life, and that's how we did it. Like learning at RISD was always drawing from still lifes. But the idea of the art could become a parallel, like it's like I see it as the inner world, a parallel to the outer world. So I believe that everyone needs to do art. Everyone, it's so important.
Thank you for sharing that. I think this is really important as well, and so important to stress continuously. You are a practicing artist. How do you balance, in a way, careers that you have to make sure your art is maintained, your soul is nourished? And do you feel that the artist settles at some point, or artist continuously grows?
In my case, it's such a big part of me that it's always leading. It's never in
It's
the
not
background.
stagnant. It's just
It's
moving.
because it's through my art I understand what's going on in my life. So now I'm needing and wanting to do more realism. So that kind of tells me a little bit of what's going on, that I want to be grounded. So it's a beautiful way. It's like a little vacuum space where it's like meditation, where I am able to understand what's going on, like stop and figure it out, like playing. And I really think that that's what we're missing in our education today. Just that space to just play in the classroom. It's like every teacher has 20 plus students with no support. Most of the teachers don't remember their students anymore, and it's sad to go to the parent teacher conferences and see that, oh, which Jude, I have 3 Judes, which class, and it's all has to be written, where in the old days you'd ask them about your child
know.
and they would know exactly what what the strength, what the weaknesses of your child is. And this is what we try to do in the art studio, is to connect to each child and to give them the space. And maybe some of the criticism I have, or we have in the art studio, is that, oh, you don't produce products, you don't produce pretty things. And we don't, because it's experiences.
It's
and
about
my
the
work
process.
also is never, I never think of it as I'm making this for a show, or I'm doing it to become a product. I'm doing it because it's a need, and it's a joy, and it's a process. And I think all artists need to remember never ever to be stuck with the thought that I need to produce what's out there, especially now with the data and the chat GPT, where you can figure out what is going to be, selling. It's then it's like the death of the artist, I feel.
I want to speak more about Art Studio and the current activities you are handling. There's a variety, and I'm very interested in what you do currently at the studio.
So recently, we have worked with KFH, the Kuwait Finance House, and Kuwait Society of the Handicapped. We're working with their trainees, 10 trainees that every summer they do this program. This is the fifth one. We did it also last year. So introducing art to the disabled or the physically or mentally challenged in a way that opens them up to themselves and to their helpers. We're working directly also with the helpers, where we have an instinct to always fix or correct or make it nicer. So we're creating actually we made up to 60 pieces and a large piece together that we want to exhibit in a public gallery end of October. So we want to normalize process and experience, because some of these pieces are as gorgeous as Rothko's paintings. There's so much presence in them. There's so much light. There's so much lightness. So it's important that we accept our imperfections and celebrate them. I mean, it's not even an imperfection. It's just authenticity. It's like, and I see the students that are having trouble being okay with this, odd looking piece. It's not perfect.
What is with us and the need for perfect? And who has defined this perfect? I wonder.
That noise. We need to kill that critic. And it's like embracing your inner self and being okay with whatever. And I guess this is why it took me so long to have my first solo exhibit, which happened last year. I was never ready. And then strangely enough, my mom's passing plus me turning 50, it was like an awakening. I'm never going to be that perfect that I'm expecting. And who said that perfect is what needs to be shown? No, I want to show my mark. The large pieces that you saw were just marks and experiences and feeling. It's like a strong feeling, and every mark is just a perfection in and of itself. And this is what we want to really embrace through the exhibition, hopefully, that we will have with the Handicap Society of Kuwait, is showing all their amazing stuff. And it's not really showing to the world, it's showing to their parents.
Yes.
Because it's okay for your son or your daughter to show who they are, because that's their mark, and this is their logic, because there's a color logic, there's a mark logic, there's a beauty, and each one is completely different. And for me, I can get lost in every single piece of them. And we want to really encourage what some people see as imperfection, but I see as just truth. Let's show our truths on paper, on even interacting with each other. It's like my nerves today.
Yeah.
It's like, you're a human.
It feels that you are very oriented with Art Studio towards community engagement.
Yes.
And that is in times of adversity and a polarized world, it's most wanted and needed to have this community contact. I recently heard, I was listening actually to a podcast where artificial intelligence was discussed. And we realize it can do so much, and it can change so much and substitute so much. But the contact, it can't. And the community strength, it cannot simply replace. And art and culture is inevitable and so needed, and we must demand more space for it, I think, because what we see in schools is diminishing the classes of music, of art, replacing it with something else. But we will eventually completely obstruct the creativity that's flowing in each and every one of us, which you just kind of remarked on with this particular project you're doing. So community-oriented projects are important for your studio. How do you keep touch with what's going on in the community, artistically, culturally? Are there things you visit, meaning exhibitions or schools, or, is it the contact with the different artists?
Well, it's we have the connection from the National Art NCAL,
Yeah, national,
Cultural Center.
yes, yes.
Yes, all the artists there. This is actually why the printmaking conference was so key for us, because we partnered with NCAL, and suddenly we have all the older artists who were educated in a very different way. And my issue was, there's no dialogue between the young and the older artists, and there's almost like an animosity
We
between.
frequently hear that.
Exactly. But wonderfully enough, the printmaking was a very safe place for both, and we had many workshops that had the two, and the products that were, there was no judgment, because it's print, and it's not it's new to everyone at that time, and nobody can say that, oh, mine is better than yours. So this, to me, is, I think printmaking is always going to be the community magnet, because no one feels bad that they're not drawing a perfect person, or painting a certain way. It's always going to be an accident. You're going to make a print and it's going to be a surprise, because when you put it under the press, it's going to be something completely different. And for me, personally, community was so important, because I felt very lonely coming back with the education from RISD. I felt like, okay, how do I bring that back? Beautifully enough, like 30 years later, I feel Kuwait is thriving with amazing artists. And the program at NYU for the MFA, I think a lot of people have been doing the masters there, and there's more awareness and there's more exchange. I love to go to CAP and see what's there. I love to see the NCAL exhibitions.
There's a lot happening.
There's a lot of happening more.
The cultural, that critical mass is there.
Yes.
It's about how we engage it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And to stop thinking about it as a product.
Yes.
And it's more about an experience. This is why I love the community aspect. We get together and we would draw together, we engage, we learn from each other, and it would be wonderful to have more of it.
Yeah.
I feel like we still need much more. Like Monet and his group, the Impressionists. It's like any movement starts when there's a group actually giving each other the support, and I would love to see more of that.
You have mentioned your exhibition that happened last year in Sultan Gallery. I've seen it. I love the colors and the size of it. It engulfs you in a beautiful way. And you said it took you a long time to do the exhibition. I'm curious of the process. Is it in a way spending you while you're doing it? Is it demanding? You have an idea. You worked with a curator.
I did work with visual therapy, but it's interesting. It really fell together so easily. It wasn't. It was very painless and
rewarding, hopefully.
Rewarding. And I don't know if you remember the small pieces that were not completing. I'm not sure how to word it even. It was pieces that were left from COVID of kids that never took their paintings. So I laid them all out and I started playing with their work. I started flirting with the colors, with the lines, and it was a language. And I feel that's a big part of my work. It's like seeing the possibility, the potential with their marks. It's like honoring the marks that feel really intentional, or there's a playfulness, or there's like it's like is there a word, like you riff off? It's like you kind of take it, and it's like a dance. It's like improvising with the kids. So that was really and I'm thinking of possibly working that way also with the exhibition of the handicap society, just adding marks, like almost like a hug. It's like it's like the beginning and then the end, or the closure.
It's a beautiful closure. What kind of art you enjoy, and what puts a smile on your face these days when you see artistically? You mentioned that you do your water painting and that you engage with art daily. It's how you breathe and live. Is there anything specific you could share with us that kind of inspires you or moves you, motivates you?
I mean, for me, always the Impressionists, there's always something to learn with their marks on the paper. Like going, I recently went to France to go to Monet's house, the pilgrimage that I finally went through, and just experiencing the delight of indulging in his walls were just filled with paintings of his friends, and it felt like it's like moments. And that's what I've been doing also with myself, like finding objects or things that are beautiful and surrounding yourself with it, where you're always reminding yourself that there's this suspended joy that you can access anytime and anywhere. I just love all art, all paintings. I just love paint. Like for me, it's like frosting on a chocolate. I see paint and I can't. I cannot not engage in it.
I understand that. I have taken my children to museums since they were very, very young. And my son particularly, there would be moments where he would say in the morning, please, no museums today.
Like
but there
torture.
was a beautiful moment where I realized how it's not always what you see or how you experience art. And, you know, potentially he was just too young. But it's also about how you feel, what it does to others that can also inspire you. Because my favorite Renaissance painter is Hieronymus Bosch.
Okay.
And the only work that was evading me, I couldn't find it, was the one that's in Madrid. So I finally saw it 2 years ago in a very crowded room, and I was carrying my daughter in one arm and leading my son, holding his hand, trying to find in this very crowded museum. And finally, suddenly
Face to
I
face.
see it. I don't know what I looked like, but what my son said was, I am so happy for you. And I felt that this is also learning about art, seeing how it makes others feel and engage. He actually does very beautiful art, but I must say the school has pretty much killed that wish.
Unfortunately.
Yes, because,
you mentioned something important, which is seeing art firsthand. This is something that we all have to be aware of. I mean, I go to Abiyat and I see all the, the work people buy for their homes, 40 KD, 30 KD. And I think it's important to really encourage experiencing art firsthand, because you're face to face with the surface where it held the mark and held the moment. It's different. It's and we need to teach our children to appreciate and to give that respect to that moment. I mean, recently I forgot the artist's name, but saw the work of a woman that was working at the same time as when the World War II happened, and it's like a painting of how Cannes was, like the destruction, and it really it made me understand this in-betweenness, where we are going through that right now with all the politics and around us. It's like a shatter. It's like the artist being so vulnerable, and then trying to express something that is gone, that is going, that is destructed. Why is it important? Because we are, as human beings, we're reflecting our environment. So whatever you make in this environment will never be replicated like 3 years from now. So whatever freedom I had doing Sanctum at that time, it's not the same as what I have now, or what I did in the Spring Awakenings, where it was more of a lighter exhibit, lighter colors. I was feeling optimism. So I'm shifting. The work is shifting. So it's important to connect and find artists that really give you that feeling, where it's marking your experience as well. You might have different favorite paintings at different stages in your life. It's like little moments of humanity.
The shattering moment for me is always in Russian realism.
Okay.
I mean, in so many other
It triggers
arts of
you?
that time, it does.
Okay,
It does. The
yeah.
eyes.
Yes,
It's the
yes,
eyes.
interesting.
It's that, and the name is now evading me. The name of an artist, but it's the father coming home
Yes.
from being detained,
Okay.
probably in Siberia or
Yes,
something,
yes.
and then his eyes full of
Death.
these questions. Do I still belong? Do I
Yes.
still have a place here?
Wow.
His pretty shocked wife
Yeah.
and a child that is just kind of hopeful. But these eyes haunted me. I remember that was one of the first things at the
Amazing.
university in the history of arts, and it does speak to me. Just these eyes spoke so much. I will find it and send it to you so you know what I'm talking about, because I can't remember the artist's name now. You've mentioned a lot about artistic scene in Kuwait and how you feel about the cultural component and this beautiful the richness and diversity of what we have locally. I want to ask you about the mobility of artists and the exchange of artists. We wonder a lot about this regional exchange. We see a lot of it happening in Emirates, in Qatar. There are a lot of artists coming here to Kuwait and creating art. Do you feel that this mobility exists? And is it important? I remember years ago working, maybe 20 years ago, working in Europe. We had to move that end date for how old artists can be considered young artists for mobility for those who were under war or under these circumstances. It completely blocked them from creating. And then we were sending 35-year-olds as very young artists, somewhere or showing their art because they simply didn't move for 10 years for different reasons. So challenges are always there. Do we practice that mobility in the region, that exchange? Is it important? Can we support it
Very
somehow?
important. Artists actually are really inspiring each other. And we did, in last year's printmaking conference, we had artists from Emirates, Qatar, and Saudi. And that was an incredible experience. And this year, our name is, our label for the conference is Caravan. So our thought is to create like nodes of action. But then, I mean, today with social media, you don't need to be in Saudi or you don't need to be in Qatar to really collaborate. So mobilizing it and seeing ourselves as a larger entity. It's not only Kuwait, it's also the Gulf region. And then it's the Arab, and then it's the world. The world is all becoming one. Something happens in America, it affects us immediately. So I'm seeing and excited about the opening of Saudi is supporting so much artists and art events. There's so much inspiration. People are driving, to Riyadh
to see them.
It's the boundaries have melted. So I think this is really the future of this area.
This is
all
encouraging to hear.
Yes, it's exciting. It's really incredibly inspiring. And we had the artists that came from the Gulf work at the Art Studio, and it was one of my favorite moments of the whole year because it's like we're completely different countries, different disciplines, but when we sat and worked together, we had
Came
one
together.
focus and we were helping each other, and it was beautiful. And we need more of these, not only shows, we need to have engaging moments to work together.
Exchange.
If we could again stress the process, where the artist, it's not about showing my work in Saudi or showing my work in Bahrain. It's about working together somewhere, and it doesn't matter where, but actually like physically working together.
I think there's something we probably share as your art studio and our cultural center here, and that is we're trying to sense the pulse of the community, but at the same time, as people of certain education, we're trying to set certain standards and impose certain topics. What is the best balance between that? Like when you mentioned the need for a product, but you actually want to stress the process. So you want to address the needs of the community, but at the same time, you want to show what you've learned and what's been proven to work. So where do we find the sustainability of, for instance, Art Studio and its future?
Well, I mean, what you're talking about is, do you, in the culture center here, do you do projects with, for example, the governmental cultural entities? Okay, so this is the way, because the minute we opened it up for ourselves, we learned a lot. And I already see things changing in NCAL just from the first printmaking studio, just the way we use space.
We have different kind of collaborations with the National Council, not particularly in the studio, but there are we are engaged on other projects. So I understand what you're saying.
So the Museum of Modern Art was used for shows even before we worked on it, but we transformed it into a workshop. And for 3 weeks, we had a silk screen studio. We had a like printing studio in the center with our machine. We took the machine from Sheikh Abdullah Salem. They gave it to us to work with.
Yeah.
I really feel like doing art is like immediately gives the place a heartbeat. Not showing, not talking, but working together physically, where you're dependent on each other.
And what you're mentioning, the intersectoral cooperation, in my experience, crucial. You have to have all sectors involved.
Yes.
And even though I don't believe in top-down approach, I do believe in cooperation between the entities. Government gives a framework that can be supportive. Artists do their work. The only work they need to do is showing their creativeness. And then different private entities can support either through organizing things or, financially supporting. There's a great strength in this cooperation. I do believe that.
Yeah.
And your example is amazing, and how you felt it. May we know something about the future plans, either your own as an artist or maybe studios? What is in the works that we can look forward to?
I found myself really inspired working with the Handicapped Society. It felt that there was so much potential to support and benefit, because it's a pure kind of mark making and just space that's never given. Or it's hard to be given, because it's looked at, okay, I have a drawing and you just copy it. So being more involved with that kind of entity is really a pleasure, and working more on a regional level, incorporating Lebanon, Egypt, the Gulf, dialogue, understanding, back and forth, and maybe eventually global.
Yeah. What is currently maybe something in Kuwait that we shouldn't miss, either at your studio or potentially something else from your point of view? You have mentioned certain galleries that you like to frequent, and some of the projects and plans you're doing. Or maybe it's something completely different. Let's say a stranger, a foreigner comes. Where would you, as a local, where would you send this person to experience
Barakia and to the ocean? It's like Barakia is always, it's just a plethora.
Oh, it's a myriad of everything.
Oh my goodness,
really,
it's like a heartbeat. And I would encourage more work outdoors, like doing your artwork, which I'm seeing more of, which I'm loving. Because I remember when I used to take my students to like even 360 Mall, the security would come and they would shut us down. So making it more of a common sense thing. Oh, I have my sketchbook, I'm drawing. I think encouraging a lot of this kind of action would really help us as a country. So, and I love going to Barakia and just working there. I used to take my students there all the time. Being in nature and being in Barakia.
It is a beautiful connectedness that space provides.
Even
to people.
Actually, Avenues is giving me that vibe too. There's enough people, there's enough energy. It's just like a nucleus of just positive energy.
I think we must
people
admit,
watching.
We must admit ourselves that there's something in being just connected, in being among people,
and seeing how people dress differently, how people walk differently. It's so much diversity and excitement. It's the generations. You have a type. Where was I recently? I went to 360 Mall, and all the like a certain age group, they were wearing all the same thing. So it's important to also question these things, because art is about not about consuming, it's about creating, it's about reflecting, it's about critically thinking about this trend that's on on YouTube. It's art is not necessarily something that you have to have on a piece of paper or a canvas. Art is the way you look at the world, the way you interact, the way you end up reflecting on yourself and on your behavior in public scenes. So just being kind of like playful in public.
Let's end on that note of playfulness and a need to engage, connect, and play. It was a lovely conversation we had today, and hopefully we will continue it at some point.
It was a pleasure, and I would love to see what you're doing, more of what you're doing here.
Well, I'm sure we will be able to potentially even work on something together. Again, thank you so much for today. We'll see you soon at Culture Corner.